Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday, June 9th edition of the MMA OB Daily Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Adam Martin, and I'm joined by my buddy here, Cole Shelton. Just got a haircut, first haircut of the quarantine, so it's good for you, Cole. I probably should have shaved before the podcast, but, it's quarantine, right? So I've got my little beard going on. Anyways, man, how's everything going with you, Cole? And, you keeping it okay?
Yeah, it's going well. Yeah, the hair was just getting too long. Just had to buzz most of it off, and it's definitely not what my barber would normally do, but it's good enough for now.
Yeah, I just been doing it myself, but just shaving it. Anyways, we got quite a bit to talk about today, Cole. A lot to talk about. So obviously, UFC 250 just took place Saturday. We'll be recapping that. UFC Fight Night, Jessica Eye versus Cynthia Calvillo, which we have no idea what they're hashtagging it or what they're calling it. I guess it's UFC Vegas 2. I really have no idea. So anyways, we'll figure that out later. It's not important. A lot of other stuff, though, in the news, Cole. Jon Jones, Jorge Masvidal, bunch of other stuff. We got a lot to talk about today. Let's jump right into it. Okay, so we're going to start with UFC 250, which obviously took place this past Saturday at the Apex in Las Vegas. Really good card. We said it was going to be a good card going in. Just a weak main event. I still believe it was a weak main event, but overall, a great card in my opinion. We'll talk about all the fights. As far as picks go, I went 8-4. I did call a couple, at least one dog, and Cole, I think you went 6-6 if I'm not mistaken. So. Or maybe 7-5. What did you go, Cole? Do you know?
No, I can check right now.
I think it was 6-6. Anyways, I could have been better. There's a few picks that I, wish I could have switched. But overall, it was a good card. And let's get right into it, Cole. We'll start with the main event of the evening. Amanda Nunes versus Felicia Spencer. Amanda Nunes winning the fight via a lopsided unanimous decision. 50-44, 50-44, 50-45. I think you could have had more 10-8 rounds in there, possibly like 50-43 or something.
That's what I had it as.
Yeah, exactly. So just a beatdown. We expected that. That guy that bet $1 million on Amanda Nunes, that's probably the easiest $166,000 he's ever made in his life. She was never threatened at all in the fight. Mismatch of epic proportions. Felicia Spencer, obviously incredibly tough woman. You gotta have, some respect for her toughness and heart, but that's not good enough to be a champion in the sport. You gotta have more than that. You got Kevin Scott in here. Kevin, what's going on? Just missed Nunes by sub. Yeah, Kevin emailed me like Saturday and was like, "Hey Adam, Nunes by sub is, I think it was plus 750." Kevin, you mentioned to me, should I take a shot? And I was like, yeah, why not? Because you saw what happened with like the Miesha Tate fight, for instance. Knock her down, submit her, Sarah McMahon as well. But this fight, good for Spencer, toughed it out. I still feel like the fight should have been stopped personally. Like I think it was after the fourth round. Dana White, I think, said the same thing, Cole. To me, at that point, it's like your fighter's not going to win, and it's not as bad as the Glover-Smith fight from a few weeks ago. And we talked about this, Cole, in private, but to me, it was still a bad non-stoppage. So I think the fight should have been stopped. But overall, it was just a mismatch, Cole. Just initial thoughts on the fight and the non-stoppage as well.
Yeah, because I picked Nunes by decision, but after the fourth round, I'm like, this could really be stopped. Because for your corner, you really should only stop the fight when your fighter has no chance of winning. And after the fourth round, it was 100% clear Spencer had nothing for Nunes. When Spencer hits Nunes and she smiles and keeps on walking forward, it's not going well for you. I don't even know if Spencer even, Nunes was in danger whatsoever. Everyone thought Spencer would have a good shot on the ground. When it went to the ground, Nunes was stronger. She was better on the ground. But this is the scary thing, right? So Felicia Spencer is probably the toughest competition for Amanda Nunes out of everyone at 35-45 that she hasn't fought yet. So it's like, what are Nunes' next fights going to look like?
Yeah, that's the question now. Who's she going to fight next? Because she's dominated pretty much everyone. Looking at the rankings, Aspen Ladd is an intriguing fight, but even Aspen Ladd, I don't think she wins that fight against Amanda Nunes. Having said that, she does have knockout power, right? She can finish people. So who knows? Nunes has lost before. It's not like she's unbeatable, Cole. She looks unbeatable now. Over the last 11 fights, she's won in a row. She's looked incredible, but look at the Katzengano fight. She didn't get her out there early. She got tired and got finished. Now, obviously, she's improved that part of her game. Her cardio is way better now, but she's lost before, Cole. She lost to Alexis Davis years ago in Strikeforce. She got finished too, and Sarah D'Alio basically laden prayed her. We saw in the Valentina Shevchenko fight, the second fight, first fight as well in the third round, but the second fight where it was a split decision. There are some holes in her game, but it's very hard to be Amanda Nunes right now. She's just so good everywhere. That's the problem, Cole. All these other women are kind of they have one good thing they're really good at, and that's enough to win on a lot of fights. But when you fight Amanda, it's you have to be good everywhere because you go in there thinking she's going to knock you out, right? And her knockout power is incredible for a woman at 135 and 145 pounds. But her wrestling is so good now too. And her cardio is so good. And she's got a great chin. Like, she literally laughed at Spencer when she hit her in the face goal. I was like, oh my God, this girl's so scary. So, like, she's got that intimidation factor. I feel like Felicia just didn't show any sort of confidence in there. Like, she was just basically in survival mode for like the entire 25 minutes. I don't think she ever threatened Nunes. And to me, it's like, now you're looking at who she could fight next, and you can't see too many people being competitive with her. So again, Aspen Ladd, she's fighting Sarah McMahon. If she wins that fight, I think she'll be next in line. However, the UFC did announce Irene Aldana versus Holly Holm. We'll talk about that fight later a little bit. But Aldana, especially if she wins, that's a fresh contender. So that's another fight. She has knockout power. We saw what she did to Caitlin Vieira, but is that enough against Amanda Nunes? I'm not sure. The other option is obviously at 45, but because I'm assuming she's going to 35 for her next fight, Cole. At 45, you do have Megan Anderson, but like, come on, like, that's not a competitive fight.
Felicia Spencer spit her in the first round.
Exactly. I mean, MMA math doesn't work all the time, Cole, but like in this case, I think it would work. So you have her, and then obviously the Cyborg rematch is still something I'd love to see personally, but Cyborg's in Bellator, so that fight's not happening anytime soon. I would like to see that fight again one day. It'd be cool. Now, the other option is, and I just wrote the article on this, Cole, Dana White mentioned that UFC is interested in Kayla Harrison. So that's an intriguing matchup because, check it out, but I just posted, or I don't know if Tom put it up yet, but he talked to Bright about it the other day, and he was just saying, like, we're interested in her, and you're looking at new challengers for Amanda, but is she ready for that? Like, I don't know if she's ready, probably not, but she is a big girl. Obviously, she'd have to cut to featherweight. Maybe she can make the cut, I'm not sure, but that is an intriguing fight, Cole. So, if I had to guess Amanda's next fight, it's not going to be Valentina, by the way. Dana White shot that down. He said, we're not doing the trilogy. Although he said that, they're looking at Weili Zhang versus Shevchenko in a few fights. That's what he did say. But for now, Cole, it's looking like Aspen Ladd or Juliana Pena as well. Was I wrong, actually? Is Pena fighting Ladd? Or is
No, it's Ladd McMahon, and then Aldana Holm. Those are it's probably whoever looks the most impressive out of those is going to get.
I would assume so, yeah. So
Nunes said she's going to take a break, so who knows if she can fight again for the rest of the year, which is honestly a good thing for the bantamweight featherweight division because there's no real clear contender. So if she takes the rest of the year off, it really gives all the contenders a chance to fight and show who is the true number one contender.
Well, she fights twice a year usually, so I think she's on that kind of trajectory to fight in December, I would say, like in Vegas or something, against one of these more impressive winners, because these fights are happening in the summer, Cole. So right now she can just chill. Like, she just defended her belt. Dana loves her. She's such a great fighter, right? So, by the way, okay, so the fighter pay came out, and Felicia Spencer to headline a card, and I get that Felicia Spencer, this is more money than she's ever made, but $125,000 a show to headline a UFC pay-per-view event. Wow, Cole, that seems pretty low, doesn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is, because I thought most challengers always got like 300 something. I thought champs really got 500.
Yeah.
And then the challengers I thought always got like 3 or 350.
Yeah. So Nunes got 500, right?
She got 450, 350 to show and 100 to win.
And then obviously she's getting pay-per-view points, Dana White said, so she's going to get extra money. I don't know if Spencer had pay-per-view points. I hope so, because she was half of the fight, but at the same time, 125,000, she'll never turn that down, Cole, because that's the biggest payday of her career. But I'm just thinking, like, for a title challenger and a pay-per-view that probably sold a couple 100,000 pay-per-views, seems low. Kevin Scott, if Nunes takes off 6 to 9 months, that gives both these divisions a minute to develop contenders. Yeah, like I said, I think not even 6 months. She'll be back, I think, fight one more time this year. But you have the fight with Aldana in August, and then the Ladd fight is in July. So she's got time to sit out. Anyways, I think we'll move on to the next fight here, Cole. Next fight, UFC 250. Okay, so, man, the bantamweights were definitely on display, and that's what we talked about going into this. So this fight, wow, I mean, what a knockout. Cody Garbrandt finishing Rafael Santos with a brutal right hook, 459 round 2. Honestly, one of the best knockouts I've ever seen. I mean, it was this incredible knockout. So much speed, precision, and power. Just incredible. Garbrandt obviously needed this win after the 3 straight knockout losses, called to TJ Dillashaw twice and Pedro Munoz. This is a fight he needed to win. He did so in impressive fashion. Right now, Cody is still in the bottom half of the top 10 because of the 3 straight losses, Cole, but he's a huge name. He is really marketable. UFC loves him. Fans love him. I feel like, he's still one of the top guys in the division. He won't get the next title shot. We'll talk about that in a second. But where do you place Cody right now? I mean, obviously, I think he just beat the number 6 guy, so he'll probably take that spot. But do you still consider him an elite guy, or do you think he's just a little bit like one tier below those guys?
I still think he's an elite guy when he's on. Like his footwork and his like that Dominic Cruz fight is still one of the best performances I've seen in a long time. And he kind of had that movement and confidence again against the Sun Tzu. I think him working with Mark Henry is a really smart decision. I really had Mark Henry as a coach, just his striking abilities. Garbrandt's a guy that it's going to be interesting to see if he's changed, or if he gets hit, he turns it into a firefight. The Sun Tzu really never hit him that hard where he wanted to get it back. That's the big knock on Garbrandt is once he gets rocked, he just kind of loses his whole game plan. So I'm still unsure if that's still a thing with Garbrandt. If it isn't, he could take a punch now, which he showed us Sun Tzu landed some that he didn't get knocked out, that maybe can take a punch. I still think he's a top 5 bantamweight. I don't really know what they do with him because he's still a marketable guy. He can headline a fight night card. He can co-main pay-per-view like he did. Like he's a guy that UFC. I don't know if they're going to try to slow build him back up or just give him like a guy like Marlon Moraes right away and try to get him back to a title shot.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the rankings. So Sun Tzu was actually ranked number 5. So Garbrandt probably should take a spot. The problem is Munoz is ranked number 7. So Garbrandt actually might slip in behind Munoz. So he'd be like number 7. Jose Aldo's also there, but really Garbrandt should probably be ranked above Aldo. I just think with the loss to Munoz, like it's hard to justify, I think, putting Garbrandt above Munoz, Cole, honestly. He just knocked him out last year. It wasn't that long ago. So that's kind of how I would do it, but it doesn't even matter really. Like he's still a big name. He'll get one of these top guys. You know, just looking at the rankings, man, I mean, Marlon Moraes, like how about a fight like that, Cole? 2 of Ali's guys. Don't know if Ali would like the matchup, but man, that'd be a good fight, Cole. Marlon Moraes against Cody Garbrandt. Just looking at the rankings, that seems like the right fight. Also, Corey Sandhagen is a good fight too. I know Sandhagen lost. We'll talk about him in a second. And just looking at the other guys, I mean, you know, you got Cruz, the potential rematch with Cruz. That is an interesting fight as well. I've always liked to see a rematch between those 2 guys. And then obviously TJ Dillashaw, because that's who he wants to fight. He said, you know, I want the trilogy, but TJ's out for another 7 months, I think, with suspension, January 2021. So that fight's not happening. So yeah, you know, I would assume that probably Moraes, Cole, because he doesn't have a fight lined up. It makes a lot of sense. Headline a fight night card. What do you think?
Yeah, that's what I really like. I think it'd be a really interesting fight. I think the winner, you could make a case, gets the shot right after Sterling.
Yeah.
Moraes, like, he's kind of been screwed. He beats Jose Aldo. Dana White didn't like it, and then he's just kind of been thrown in limbo, and Aldo's the one getting a title shot. Yeah. So then Moraes is in a weird spot where you have Sterling Sandhagen fighting, and then he's just kind of sitting there as the number 1 contender. Like, who the heck am I supposed to fight? He's supposed to fight Peter Yan. That fight got pulled out from him, so he could fight for the belt. Like, Yan's in a weird spot where he called out Dominic Cruz. Like, that's who he's calling out now. Guys way below him because everyone else has been matched up. He just doesn't have an opponent.
Right. Anyways, move on to the next fight here. Sterling, we have to talk about him. Incredible performance, Cole. Wow. I mean, geez. I expected this fight to be really close and go the full 3 rounds. I tweeted it before. I'm like, man, this fight should have been 5 rounds. It's going to go the full 3. And then, of course, he taps him in a minute. Best performance of Sterling's career, obviously. Just incredible. He's going to get the next title shot, but I would argue, Cole, you know, the UFC, they haven't officially announced it yet, but Dana's already hinted at it, and apparently it's going to be at Fight Island, and we'll talk about it a little bit later. But July 11th, it's going to be Peter Yan versus Jose Aldo for the belt. It should be Peter Yan versus Aljamain Sterling, Cole. Yeah, honestly, I know Aldo is a legend; he deserves that respect. But for him to jump all these other guys coming off 2 straight losses is ridiculous.
Yeah, after that fight, I jumped on Twitter just like, oh, I wonder if the UFC can just white out the poster and change the D to a J and just do Yan versus Aljo and just on the poster. But I don't think Aldo should be getting a title shot. Like, you have to kind of – he lost the fight. I know Dana White doesn't think he did, but the 3 judges are what matters. 2 of them said Moraes won, so Aldo lost. I know he's a legend, but he's 0-1 at bantamweight. Like, how hard would it have been? It's just – I honestly think Sandhagen Sterling should have been for the vacant belt anyways, and then just have Peter Yan fight the winner. In the meantime – Aldo could have fought someone else, could have fought like a Munoz, could have fought someone like that, where if he gets a win, then you can give him a title shot because he's a big name. But I would like to see the UFC just go Yan Sterling, but I highly doubt that happens.
Yeah, it's going to be Yan versus Aldo. Sterling gets the shot after that. And honestly, he should stay ready because who knows? Injuries, travel restrictions, anything could happen, Cole. Like, that fight scheduled to take place on Fight Island, who knows if that's even going to happen?
And the weight is still a concern for Aldo.
So I think Sterling should just get ready. Honestly, they should probably bring him in as like an alternate just in case and just have him make weight, Cole, just in case something does happen. Anyways, yeah, it looked incredible. Deserved a shot. Let's just go through the rest of hard kind of quick. There's a few fights I do want to like really point out though. Next fight, I mean, this fight was pretty lackluster, I guess. Neil Magny defeats Anthony Rocco Martin by unanimous decision, 30-27, 30-27, 29-28. I thought Rocco won the fight personally, but super close fight. Could have went either way, Cole. Surprised by the scorecards, I'm not going to lie. Well, I thought it was 29-28 Rocco, or I guess you could have given it to Magny 29-28. 30-27 seemed like a stretch to me.
Yeah, it was close. I think all 3 rounds, there was no other than the third round. The first and second round, it was kind of like, it's kind of when you're like submitting, like when people are submitting their scores on Twitter, it's kind of like, I don't really know. I guess I'll lean Rocco, or I guess I'll lean Magny. And the first rounds are super close. The only clear cut round was round 3. Or when I heard 30-27, I'm like, Magny won, because there's no way Rocco won that third round.
Yeah, exactly. So you knew Magny had won at that point. Just last fight in the main card here, Sean O'Malley just absolutely starches Eddie Wineland first round. I thought it was a mismatch going in, but I thought Eddie Wineland could at least tough it out for a few rounds. I mean, this is an incredible knockout for Sean O'Malley. The thing about Sean O'Malley is, like, Cole, he had 2 years stolen away from him. So, like, people are acting like he's coming out of nowhere. Like, 2 years ago, he was on a main card on a pay-per-view, Cole. Like, UFC 222. He fought Andre Sukhumtov. It's a great fight. That was over 2 years ago now. So, like, those 2 years robbed him of 2 of the best years of his career. But he's making up for lost time, man. He's looked great the last 2 fights. Looked better than ever, knocking out Quinones and Wineland now. He deserves a top 15 guy. I said right after the knockout, I would love to see him fight John Dodson, because I think that's a really fun fight. I think right now at this point he's not a ranked fighter, but a lot of us believe he should be in the top 15. I personally feel like Sean O'Malley should be in there over a guy like, quite frankly, Dominic Cruz does not deserve to be in the rankings. He's just number 11. He does not deserve to be in there. He doesn't want to fight in years. I personally would rather see O'Malley in there. But if you want to bump one of the bottom guys like Vera or Yadong, you could bump up one of those guys for O'Malley. I think he could match him up with one of those guys. You could do Vera versus O'Malley. That's a fun fight. But I'd rather see him fight a veteran, Cole. So yeah, I'm looking at Dodson at 13. That fight makes a lot of sense. But Rob Font at number 10 is another fight. He's got to fight a ranked guy at this point, though. He deserves it. He looked incredible. Just thoughts on who you should fight next?
Yeah, I actually talked to O'Malley last night, and
nice.
He was just talking about he said he talked to Dana White and Sean Shelby, and they basically said, stay ready, we're going to get you a fight really soon. They want to keep him active because the 2 years kind of got robbed his career, so they want to keep him active. He said, because I saw a lot of people on Twitter saying Garbrandt or Faber, someone like that. He said Garbrandt won't fight him. He said he doesn't even really want to fight Faber. He goes, Faber's a guy. He's the first guy he ever watched on TV. He's like, he's talked to him a couple of times. Like, he respects him a lot, and he said he doesn't want to fight him. And one fight he actually brought up, he said he wants that Cheeto Vera fight rebooked. He said it's supposed to happen at 239. I think it makes a lot of sense. It gets a chance for O'Malley to be in the rankings. But there's a lot of fights. You could do John Dodson. You could do another veteran just outside the rankings. I think he needs a ranked guy, but O'Malley should really get a top 15 guy, and I think he's going to get a quick push by the end of this year. Like, I was asking him, like, when do you think you're going to fight for the title? He's like, honestly, I could have a title shot by the end of this year, early next year. And I think he could get it middle of next year. He's getting a title shot.
Yeah, I don't think it'll happen this year. There's too many other contenders above him, but next year it makes sense. Vera makes a lot of sense. Number 15 guy. He probably should have won his last fight. He's looked great. He's on a nice streak besides the last fight, obviously. So I think that'd be a great fight. Wow, that'd be a great one. But yeah, if Dodson or Vera, those are the 2 guys me and Cole are keying in on. Okay, so let's get through the rest of this card. And Pavlo, what's up, guys? What's going on, man? Thanks for joining us. All right, let's go to the next fight here, Cole. Let's go through the prelims a little faster. I want to get to the preview for UFC Fight Night. Alex Caceres pulls off the upset here against Chase Hooper, 30-27 across the board. He looked good, man. He did look good. Chase Hooper, Cole, youngest fighter in the UFC at age 20. I know he looked really good against David Tamer. I was at that fight. He looked great, finished him in nasty fashion. But this fight, Cole, kind of showed that he's really not ready for the UFC. Do they cut him? I don't think so, because I just don't see why they cut him so another promotion could snatch him up. But I think, if they bring back Contender Series, maybe to fight there in the next fight, Cole, or, on a smaller show where they still have him. I don't know, Cole. Like, I don't know if he's ready right now for the UFC. I'm not saying cut him by any means, but he needs a step down, obviously. This was too much of a step up. What do you think of Chase Hooper right now?
Yeah, if they cut him, Bellator would be quick to sign him. Bellator loves developing these guys.
Yeah,
I think the UFC was right signing to a developmental deal, and I think they called him up way too soon. They should have let him fight, honestly, like 6-7 fights on the regional scene. I think he did 3, and he was like 2-0-1. His last fight was a draw, and they called him up.
Yeah.
He looked good against David Tamer, but David Tamer is like the low. He's like the low of the featherweight division. Like, I don't really know how many guys on the roster Chase Hooper could beat like this, because right now Chase Hooper's just a specialist. He's just a ground guy, and he doesn't really have good takedowns. Like, he can't get the fight down to the ground. And on the feet, his striking defense is not very good. He got hit a lot by Alex. He got hit a lot by Tamers.
Yeah.
Not that good of a striker. I think they should have given him, like, I honestly think that he shouldn't have been called up to the UFC until like 2021, 2022.
Yeah.
It should have been like 7-8 fights in the regional scenes. Just pick up wins, learn how to strike, learn how to do takedowns, because although once he gets on the ground, he can submit anyone. He has a problem getting there, and he's just not strong enough right now. Like, he's a 20-year-old guy. He's not filled into his body. Like, he's not strong enough to take guys like Caceres down or just hold them down. So I don't really know what they do with Hooper next, because they got to slow build him, but there's not many guys at featherweight he can beat, really.
I love how passionate Cole was about that, right, guys? Like, actually, it's funny because I was talking to Cole, I'm like, who's older, you or Chase Hooper? I think you said Chase is 13 days older than you.
Yeah, he's born September 13th. I'm the 26th.
He's born September 13th. That's my birthday. No way. Me and Chase Hooper have the same birthday, except I think I'm 12 years older than him. Anyways, you know what? Yeah, I mean, the kid is not ready right now, but they won't cut him. I just think the developmental deal, like, that's why they have those developmental deals for guys like this. So send him back to Titan FC or wherever he was fighting. Keep him under contract. But right now, Cole, like, why keep him in the UFC when he's clearly not ready? Like, why even let him fight guys like this where he's going to get potentially hurt, right? So just step down. I'm sure there's guys he can beat in the division right now. But honestly, like, it's just better. He's better off just developing slowly. Like, you look at a guy like Sage Northcutt, they really rushed him, and you saw what happened to his career. It really just went downhill quick. A guy like Dan Lozon back in the day, Joe Lozon brother, he got knocked out a couple times. I remember the Spencer Fisher fight. He was the youngest guy in the UFC, age 20. Usually these young fighters don't really do well. Paige VanZant's another fighter. She's really struggled in her career, and she was one of the youngest fighters too. So just take it slow. I mean, UFC does rush their fighters sometimes. They've been better about it the last few years, but I mean, this was obviously too much of a step up, even though me and Cole did think Hooper was going to win, a lot of us did.
Well, I just thought Caceres makes so many mistakes, I thought. And it was close. He gave up his leg. Like, if Hooper had a bit more time, he could have got that leg. Like, I just don't really trust Alex Caceres, even still after this win. He's a guy that makes a lot of mental mistakes. Like,
yeah,
I just thought he might have been made one mistake and Hooper would have capitalized on the ground.
Yeah, I got to give Caceres credit. I mean, he did win this fight. He's a guy that's been around for a long time now. He's been around for almost 10 years in the UFC. He's hung around. Overall record in the UFC, 11-10-1. So he's essentially a 500 fighter, but he looked good in this fight, man. You got to give it up to Alex Caceres. But he's a gatekeeper, Cole. But he's the perfect gatekeeper to have. Like, this is exactly why you need gatekeepers. You have to have these kind of guys that are like measuring sticks for these young prospects. It's a perfect spot for him. He gets his win bonus. He moves on. All right, going through the rest of the fights here. Ian Heinisch, one of the best performances of the night. I could have given him a bonus, Cole. He didn't get one. Knocks out Gerald Mearshart in the first round. I mean, I didn't expect this at all. Like, Gerald Mearshart's only been knocked out once in his career by Thiago Santos. So for Heinisch to go in there and finish him in the first round was, like, extremely impressive. He's fighting Brendan Allen now on 2 weeks' notice. He's going to fight him at the June 27th card. So that's a good fight. It's kind of a step down according to the rankings, I would say. Having said that, Brendan Allen's a great prospect. He's another guy who's, like, jumping into the top 15. Potentially top 15 if he beats Heinisch. Heinisch is ranked number 12 now. He is one of the best fighters, I think, right now, outside the top, like, 5 or 6. He's a very dangerous guy, obviously. Super dangerous with the striking pull. I mean, wow, what a performance by Ian Heinisch here.
Yeah, and this fight was actually supposed to be Brendan Allen versus Ian Heinisch, and Allen couldn't do it because it's just timing, I think. So he actually texted Gerald Mearshart as his teammate and said, I just got offered this. If you want it, go ask the UFC for it. And that's how this fight got put together. But
yeah.
I know Allen and Heinisch, they don't really like each other. There's some kind of rivalry going on. So it's definitely an interesting fight. I'm looking forward to it. 2 weeks notice, it should be interesting to see what kind of Heinisch we get because he's going right back into a fight.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's going to be an interesting fight. But, yeah, you look great in this fight. Cody Stamann, unanimous decision over Brian Keller. Obviously a good performance here. 30-27 across the board. Pretty much dominated the fight. I think you could have given the last round to Kelleher personally, but either way, Stamann, good performance here by him. Obviously dealing with a lot with the recent death of his brother, which is just obviously devastating for him. But yeah, he looked really good in this fight, Cole. And then also on the ESPN prelims, you had Maki Pitolo defeating Charles Byrd by second round knockout. I did call that upset here. Charles Byrd retired after the fight. He lost 3 straight fights in the UFC via TKO. Just not a UFC caliber fighter, I'm sorry to say. 1-3 record in the UFC overall. The rest of the card here, Cole, Alex Perez, great performance. He won a bonus. Finishing UCA Formiga with leg kicks. That's a great win for him. Formiga is obviously a veteran of the sport. He's very durable. So for him to get knocked out with leg kicks is a great win by Perez. Devin Clark and Alonzo Menifield, I think, surprised a lot of us. Amazing fight, I thought. I thought it was one of the best fights in the card. On a normal card, I think this could have won Fight Night personally. Like, I think it was that good a fight. People on Twitter really seemed to like it too. It was like a really nice clinch battle between two guys that were just really durable. Devin Clark picks up the upset win here via unanimous decision 29-28, 29-28, 30-27, which I didn't agree with, but great fight in my opinion. And then opening up the card, we had Herbert Burns finishing Evan Dunham via submission at a 150-pound catchweight fight, which I still never understood why this fight got made in the first place. Cool, super weird. I mean, Dunham's got to, I guess, retire after this. So just any thoughts about the last 5 fights I just talked about here?
Yeah, Alex Perez looked really good. That leg kick over Formiga, he's right there for potential. Like, he could be someone that fills in if Benavidez are figured out something happens to them, or he could fight someone like a Brandon Moreno in a number 1 contender fight. Devin Clark surprised me. I thought Menifield was going to knock him out. He took some big shots. His chin looks a lot better. I don't agree with 30-27. I thought the first round was a clear win for Menifield. Menifield rocked him. Almost like he had him hurt with the orbital. I don't get how judges had that 30-27, but yeah. And then obviously Herbert Burns, that was a really good quick win. I figured that would happen. I thought he'd get Dunham out of there early, and it was overall just a really good card.
Yeah, Marcus. Hi, Marcus. What's going on? Overall, UFC 250 was good. I'm glad I cashed in on Sterling, but I'm disappointed myself not pulling the trigger in Caceres. Every UFC event for Jacksonville 250 has been good. Yeah, we're lucky we have the sport back, man. It's been great. I think the cards have been awesome. But you know what, Cole? UFC, you got to give them credit. Obviously, putting on the show. All the credit goes to the fighters, man. Like, they're putting on their lives on the line here, and they're doing an amazing job. So, got to give it up to the fighters here. Just a few comments here from like what we just talked about. Calvillo, Ian's underrated. 2 losses are close. True. But you say he looked good against Brunson. He did, but he did lose 2 in a row too. But yeah, I mean, he looked great in this fight. Like I said, finishing a guy like Mearshot's big. This might be the first event in a long time no one complained about judges. I mean, I think some people did complain about the Magny fight, but overall, yeah, I mean, you're right. It wasn't too bad. All right, so just finishing up here, Cole, of the UFC 250. I thought it was a great card, like I said, the whole time. A weak main event, but overall a great card. And just any last thoughts on the card before we move on to UFC Fight Night? Calvillo, nothing else, eh? Okay, so we're going to talk about UFC Fight Night, versus Calvillo. Best main event ever, by the way. Man, I mean, you know what? Like, I can sit here and complain about the main event, guys, but I'm not going to do that because, honestly, we're so lucky we have the sport to watch at all, you know? So I'm good with whatever right now. Like, obviously, this is not the main event I would have chosen. I would have had O'Malley or Sterling, like, from the last card, move to this card to headline for 5 rounds. They didn't even need those 5 rounds, though, so who knows? I guess the winner of this fight could potentially get a title shot, maybe. I mean, not I, but Calvillo could if she wins in impressive fashion, so maybe it's a showcase in the UFC's mind. Still a bizarre main event, obviously, but overall, it's a weak card for sure. Having said that, there are some interesting fights, so, you know, let's get right into them, Cole. We're going to start with the bottom and work our way up, as always. There's been some fights added, like, kind of short notice. Also, I saw Tim Elliott saying today that he's been offered a fight, but he won't be able to perform because of basically an injury suspension, I think, even though he says he's not hurt. Cole, just while I set it up here, any thoughts on the card just as a whole before we get into it?
Yeah, obviously the main event is something people have been not talking about, but there's some really interesting fights on the card, like Andre Fili, Charles Jourdain, Ray Borg, Merab should be a good fight. There's, like, interesting fights. It's obviously not. It's probably the weakest card they've done. It is the weakest card they've done since they came back, but it's definitely tough because you don't have many international fighters being able to travel yet. A lot of their big names already have fought on 249 or 250, so I'm not surprised to see a card like this early on in their return.
Yeah, so we got Kevin Scott. He doesn't like the card. Pavel doesn't like the card. And DJ Bilbrey, what's going on? He doesn't like the card either. So it is what it is. I mean, honestly, it's not a great card. I mean, you look at it, it's, I would say, below average, honestly. But having said that, Cole, what else are we going to watch? You know, this is sports, man. It's live sports, so you can't complain too much. All right, let's get right into it, Cole. We'll start with the bottom, work our way up. I don't know if the bout is like 100% official yet, guys, because, like, there's a lot of moving parts right now. But we'll start with this fight here in the welterweight division. We got Anthony Ivy against Christian Aguilera. So Anthony Ivy was supposed to fight Ian Heinisch, or excuse me, Gerald Mearshart, filling in for Ian Heinisch. Then Heinisch obviously ended up getting the fight. So the UFC kept him on the roster. He's actually going to fight at 170, which is where he's normally at. So this is actually a good thing for him. He's taking on Christian Aguilera, who's also making his debut. So 2 debuting guys. And here we go. Just some comments here. Turn it up and make Adam Colts up, gentlemen. DJ Bilbrey wants to watch anything. And Pavlo says, sports are back in Europe. True. I'm just talking about kind of North American sports, man. I'm not really too sure what's going on with Europe. But like for me personally, like I'm looking forward to seeing baseball, hockey, and basketball again. You know, they're on right now. Anyways, just getting to this fight, Cole. The odds currently have Anthony Ivy is a minus 195 favorite, and Christian Aguilera is a plus 160 underdog. Give me your pick for the first fight of UFC Fight Night 172.
Yeah, I don't know too much about either guy. I know more about Ivy. He's from Fury FC, which is really good regional promotion in Texas. Aguilera's fought guys like David Michaud and LFA. He's fought Matt Sales. He lost to both of them. Those are the two guys, the most known guys. He lost both. I think Ivy's the better well-round fighter. I don't know much about him. I've seen Ivy. He has a lot of knockout power. I think he might be able to catch Aguilera. Aguilera's been knocked out before. He has 4 losses by knockout, so I think Ivy can catch him and put him away in the first or second.
So your pick is Ivy by knockout in first round. Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards the same way, Cole. You know, for me, I'm going to look a little deeper here. For me, the height and reach, man, that's something I really like from this guy. 6'2", 74-inch reach. So like physically, he's bigger than Aguilera at 5'9", 71-inch reach. Aguilera got finished by David Michaud in the first round 2 fights ago, Cole, by strikes. That is, wow. I mean, I don't really rank David Michaud as a great fighter, so to me that's extremely concerning just looking at his record. I'll say this, like these guys have honestly fought a terrible level of competition for the most part, but I think from what I've seen, Ivory is just a little bit better of a prospect. Having said that, though, Cole, I mean, I wouldn't lay minus 195 on him because they're 2 guys making their short notice debuts, 1 week's notice. We don't know anything about these guys in UFC. Who knows what their cardio level's like? Who knows, like really? So I would not bet on this fight, but I think you have to kind of pick Ivy just based on those physical advantages I mentioned. But I mean, who knows, right? All right, you got a couple other comments here. These guys are talking about soccer, Bundesliga, and Serie A. That's good. I mean, I'm glad you guys got the soccer back. That's awesome. And then Pablo says, Ivy made weight last week. Now he's making weight again. Isn't that a little bit dangerous? Did he make weight, Cole?
No, he didn't. The fight was resumed before the weigh-ins.
Also, that fight would have been at 185, so his weight cut would have been, I think, a little bit minimal. But yeah, I mean, that does play. It's another factor you have to consider. So I think it's worth mentioning. It's just it's a bizarre matchup, Cole, honestly. 2 guys, super short notice, never seen them in the UFC. They've never fought anyone as good as each other, probably, except for, I guess, Michaud, who's like probably the only good fighter. Matt Sales, you mentioned him too. But yeah, I mean, overall, Cole, just, I don't know. I'm going to pick Ivy by knockout, though, just based on what I've seen. He does have finishing power. I just don't think it's a smart bet, really, if you're looking at him. All right, next up, we got the featherweights here. Jordan Griffin against Derek Minner. Interesting fight as well. Jordan Griffin minus 165, Derek Minner plus 145. I'll say this, Cole. These guys are not big names by any means. They're at the bottom of the division. I think this fight's going to be pretty good, personally. And go ahead.
It's actually a rematch. They fought in They fought in LFA in 2018, and Griffin submitted Minor, so I don't really understand why they're redoing it. Minor, I don't really think he's UFC caliber. I said when he filled in for Grant Dawson. He has 11 losses, 8 are by submission. Jordan Griffin wins a lot of fights by submission. He already beat Derek Minor by submission. I don't really expect anything to change. I think Griffin's a better fighter. I think on the ground he's going to have a lot of success. I think he can submit Minor again. I still think there's value at the betting window. I think he should be honestly a bigger favorite than that.
It's a tough one, man. I'm going to pick Griffin too. Obviously, he does have the win over Maynard from a couple years ago. Also, he has more UFC experience, and he doesn't look great in the UFC, but he's still 1-2, so he has a win. Minner's 0-1. I just think Minner's actually really dangerous. Look at his record. He has tons of submission wins, guys. So this is a guy that could tap Griffin out in the first round. In the TJ Brown fight, in his last fight, dude, Griffin was in so many bad positions in the fight on the ground. If Derek Minner takes his back, this fight could be over in the first round. So Minner's a first-round fighter. He finishes fights in the first round, usually kind of gets tired and gasses out after that, and he gets submitted a lot. So I have to pick Griffin by finish, but I'm just saying, like, it's actually kind of a dangerous fight personally. I don't know if I'd bet on this one either, just because I think that Minner could possibly get a submission. The one bet I do like, though, I don't think this fight goes a full 3 rounds, man. So minus 195, guys, I don't see any way this fight goes a full 3 rounds, Cole. I think someone gets finished in the first or second. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I can't see this fight going out of the second.
You just don't have, like, Minner's cardio is terrible. He won't last past the second round. So that's a bet. I'd rather make that bet personally. I don't think the fight's going the full 3, guys. That's something that I personally favor.
And Griffin wins inside the distance is plus 110, so you can get plus money if you think Griffin wins.
True, for sure. All right, next up we got, actually, let me take a comment here from Pablo. He didn't make weight, but he tried. He not really, man, because
he was on a plane. He was so short notice. He got on a plane, and by the time he landed, he found the fight was off.
Yeah, for sure. He was talking about Ivy. Okay, so let's move on to the next fight here. Flyweights going at it cool. Benoit, excuse me, not Chris Benoit. It's Ryan Benoit against Tyson Nam, even though I don't think he's pronouncing it right. But we got a close fight here called Benoit -115, Nam -105. Who's your pick?
This could easily be a loser goes home kind of matchup. Neither of them. Tyson Nam was a guy that should have been in the UFC a long time ago. He came in way too late. He's past his prime. But his two losses in the UFC are to Sergio Pettis and Kai Kara France. Those are two top flyweights. Ryan Benoit lost his split to Alatang last time. But that was his first fight since 2017 where he got a win. He's lost to Brandon Moreno, Ben Wynn. He's a guy that's been in the UFC for a bit, but he doesn't fight often. I'm going to favor the slight underdog Tyson Nam. I just think he's better all around. I just like how he's been more active. He has knockout power, but we've seen Benoit get knocked out. I don't think either of them will finish, but I just like Tyson Nam to win a decision.
I'm leaning towards Benoit in this fight personally, guys. There's a few reasons I like him here. First off, age difference. Tyson Nam's 36, so he's one of the oldest flyweights. He might be the oldest flyweight, actually. I'm pretty sure he is. And to me, he honestly hasn't looked that great in the UFC. He lost to Kara France and Pettis, two pretty good fighters, but wasn't too competitive in those fights. He was tough. He made the full 3, and I'm glad he got another fight, but I haven't been too impressed. Benoit's been kind of up and down. You look at his record, it's 3-4 in the UFC, but I mean, he does have that win over Pettis by knockout, which was a nice win. He also knocked out Mokhtarian. He actually has most of his wins by knockout, so this guy has finishing power, which is nice to see for a small guy here. Obviously has holes in his game. We saw Alatang kind of outstruck him there. Moreno just kind of beat him everywhere, but those were even close fights, like split decisions. So I think Benoit, right now is slightly a better fighter. He's a younger fighter, so my lean is towards Ryan Benoit here. It's going to be a close fight, though. I think the judges will come into play. It could be a split decision, too, so another kind of dangerous fight to bet on, but I do think that Benoit will win the decision here, probably. Nam's hard to finish. Fight going to distance is -210. I mean, it's something you could consider, I guess. I'm not sure if there is a finish here because but actually both guys do have knockout power, so there could be a finish. Maybe lay off that one, but yeah, my pick's Ryan Benoit. I'm going to say decision, though. All right, next up, we got Julia Avila against Gina Mazzani. Okay, so I got to talk about this before you even get into your breakdown, Cole. So Gina Mazzani was she's been in the UFC a few times. She lost to Julianne Payne on the show, Ultimate Fighter. Then she's fought in the UFC 4 times. Lost to Sarah McMahon, that's tough debut. Beat Yan Wu, which was a decent win. Then lost back-to-back fights to Lena Landsberg and Macy Jason. Okay, so she got cut, obviously. 1-3 record. That's not good. Now, she goes to the regional scene, and she beats this girl named Valerie Barney. And I look at Valerie Barney's record, and I go, man, maybe she's a good prospect. Like, that's why she got back in the UFC. And I look at her record, Cole. This woman's 44 years old, and she hadn't fought in 9 years. And she got finished in the first round. So that's the fight that got her, Gina Mazzani, back in the UFC. This woman fought Holly Holm in 2002, Cole. Like, this is not the kind of fight that you would win to get in the UFC. This is a mismatch, in my opinion. Even before you break down, Cole, looking at the odds here, obviously, right now we have Villa -485, Mazzani +385. This is a mismatch, Cole. Like, Julia Villa is a really good fighter from what we've seen. I don't see any way Gina Mazzani wins this fight. And honestly, like, the fact she beat this woman, look at her record, Cole. 44 years old. Look at her record. It's terrible. So, I don't know. Anyways, I'm guessing you're picking Villa, too.
Yeah, I don't think Mazzani's UFC caliber showed. She went 1-3. I don't really think she should be back in. A short notice fight, get back in. Julia Villa, I think she's going to finish Gina Mazzani in the second round. Just looking at the Julia Villa inside the distance is -125. I think if you bet the fight, I think that's where you have to go. I think there's still a lot of value on that because I don't think Mazzani can last 3 rounds. Villa has knock power. She can submit you. We've seen Mazzani get finished quite often. I think she's going to get finished again.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Cole, like, if you're going to do that, you might as well take the fight doesn't go the distance for only 10 cents more at -135 because just in case Mazzani wins, you're only paying an extra 10 cents. So that's kind of how I would go with it too, because I do think if Villa finishes this fight as well, probably in the first or second round. I think she probably gets the fight to the ground and pound, gets a TKO win. It's a mismatch. You can tell by the odds here. No offense to Mazzani or anything. I just don't think she's really a UFC caliber fighter from what I've seen. And Villa, it's actually a good prospect, and hopefully she can fight more often because if you look at her record, she had this fight with Carol Rosa, followed 4 times, Cole. So that's too bad. Just some comments here. Oh, it's just Pavel in the last few fights. Okay. All right, next fight we got. All right, this fight's pretty interesting. We got a lightweight bout. So Charles Rosa against Kevin Aguilar is happening weight class up on short notice. Both guys actually pretty good fighters here. Kevin Aguilar -170, Rosa +150. who's going to win this fight, Cole? What do you think about the weight being at lightweight?
Yeah, I'm not surprised at a lightweight. You're seeing a lot of these, like Coach Damon, Brian Kelleher, Song Yudong. You're seeing a lot of these quarantine weights going, people just fighting up a weight class up. Charles Rose is making a quick turnaround. He just fought May 9th and got dominated by Bryce Mitchell. I thought Mitchell would win that fight. I didn't think it would be that dominant. Kevin Aguilar's fought back in February, where he got knocked out to Zubair Tukov. It's an interesting fight. I actually favor the underdog Charles Rosa. I know it was the last fight. He got dominated, but I'm not too high on Aguilar. He got finished by Zubair, lost a decision to Danny Ige. Before that, beat Barzol and Rick Glenn, who aren't that high caliber of UFC featherweights. I think Rosa on the ground is going to be really dangerous for Aguilar. I think on the feet, he still can have some success. It's definitely a close fight, but I just favor the underdog slightly in Rosa to get it done. I'm not sure if he can submit Aguilar, though, either.
Yeah, this fight's pretty close. Like, definitely could be either way. I'm kind of leaning towards Aguilar, though, Cole, just because I believe if the fight stays standing, he will have a big advantage on the feet. I just don't really see Rosa as being this great striker. Like, his striking is very rudimentary. His bread and butter is his ground game, but even we saw in the last fight, he can be dominant in the ground, too. He can't submit you, though, so he's super dangerous. I think if Rosa wins, it's going to be by a submission. I don't really see him finishing Aguilar with strikes on the feet. And if it goes to the decision, I kind of see Aguilar winning that way too. So my pick's Kevin Aguilar, but it is a close fight for sure. I just think it's going to be a grind that Aguilar just kind of outpoints Rosa. Should be a pretty good fight. Rosa's usually a really good fight, so should be a pretty good one. All right, next up, actually a comment here. We got Alex Alberto G. What's going on? Yo, Mickey cannot lose to a guy cornered by his girlfriend. We're going to talk about Mickey Gall versus Mike Perry later on. Pavel likes Charles Rosa too. So there you go, Cole. All right, last prelim here. Another short notice fight. Maria Agapova against Hannah Cyphers, taken on short notice by Cyphers. Right now, Agapova is minus 170. Cyphers plus 140. Who's your pick, Cole?
Yeah, the Agapova's UFC debut. She fought Tracy Cortez on the Contender Series, lost, picked up 2 really good wins in Invicta. I like Maria Agapova. Hannah Cyphers is coming off that tough loss to Mackenzie Dern before that loss to Angela Hill. This could be it for Hannah Cyphers if she loses. I think Agapova is going to be a lot better on the ground. I think she's a lot stronger than Hannah Cyphers. Hannah Cyphers would benefit if there's a 105 division. She's a smaller strawweight. I just think Agapova is going to be stronger. She can be able to take Cyphers down to the ground. She can have success on the ground. I think Cyphers on the feet is always dangerous. She has power, but I think Agapova is smart enough where she can get down to the ground. I think she can get a submission win.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting fight. I mean, Cyphers has experience in the UFC. She just fought against Mackenzie Dern 2 weeks ago. She looked pretty good in the feet before the finish, but yeah, she makes too many mistakes in my opinion. She's been finished all 3 times in her losses in the UFC, and in her career, she's been finished 4 times. Striking, she probably does have the advantage of Cole. I just feel like Agapova can get the fight to the ground. She'll get this fight to the ground and probably finish Cyphers via either ground and pound or submission. So my pick is going to be Agapova. I think at minus 170, there's probably value on her here. I think you have to fade Hannah Cyphers. She does not seem like a UFC caliber fighter, in my opinion. Obviously, the short notice factor is something that makes this fight risky to bet on. But at the same time, I think stylistically, there's a lot of advantages here for Agapova, especially if the fight goes to the ground, Cole. So my pick is definitely Agapova by stoppage, probably in the first or second round. I think she'll finish the fight on the ground. Pavel, Cyphers, again, she's got beat a week ago. Yeah, she's taking a short notice. Martin, yeah. Oezdemir, Prochazka. Yeah, we're going to talk about that fight after, too. All right, let's get through the main card here, guys, then we'll do some news and stuff after and matchups. All right, first fight of the main card. It's a bantamweight bout, but usually these guys fight at flyweight. Jordan Espinosa against Mark De La Rosa. I don't think this fight should be on the main card, personally. These guys are barely UFC caliber. Right now, we got Espinosa minus 155. De La Rosa plus 135. Who's your pick, Cole?
Yeah, I think this is, again, similar to Nam Benoit. This is a loser goes home matchup. De La Rosa, 3 straight losses. Jordan Espinosa, 2 straight losses. Espinosa was finished in both of them. He lost to tough guys and matched on Alex Perez. His only win in the UFC is against Eric Shelton, who's no longer in the promotion. De La Rosa coming up the knockout, lost to Paiva, lost to Kai Garbrandt, Alex Perez. He's fought a lot of tough guys. Like he fought Tim Elliott too. I just favor Jordan Espinosa. I just think he's a bit more well-rounded. It's not a fight I'd bet on at all, just because they've both been so inconsistent in the UFC. I just think Espinosa on the feet is a lot better. We saw De La Rosa get knocked out his last fight. I don't think Espinosa has the knock power, but maybe he could catch De La Rosa. I don't think it's going to go on the ground. I think Espinosa can have enough takedown events to stuff De La Rosa's takedown. So on the feet, I favor Espinosa. I think you can get a decision win.
Yeah, I just, again, question why it's on the main card. I think you could have put Avia's fight on the main card to kind of showcase her, or even Rosa, because he's always in a fight of the night. So very, very strange card placement. Both these guys are like not really UFC caliber. Espinosa 1-2, coming off back-to-back stoppage losses, and De La Rosa has been really disappointing. 2-4, 3 straight losses. Loser goes home for sure, I think. I slightly lean towards Espinosa, a little bit bigger. Mark De La Rosa is a very small dude. They call him the Bumblebee. He's just tiny and kind of like just speeds around, but it's not good enough right now. I think his wife is a good fighter. I don't know if this guy's UFC caliber, but Montana, his wife, is actually a really good fighter, in my opinion. Yeah, I just think Espinosa is a little bit more well-rounded. I think you broke it down pretty well there. Is there a finish? I'm not sure. Could be a decision. Could be a finish. Kind of a tough fight, to call how it's going to end, but I do lean towards Espinosa getting his hand raised. I think he'll grind it out, but he could submit him too. Pavel, these guys are not UFC level. They really aren't. I don't understand why this fight's on the main card, guys. Like, Charles Rosa is in Fight of the Night almost every night. Why is he not on the main card? And then on the main card that says everything about this card. It's true. All right, next fight we got Andre. Okay, this fight could be Fight of the Night. Actually, this will probably be my pick for Fight of the Night. Great fight here. Andre Fili against Charles Jourdain. Awesome fight. Right now we got Andre Fili minus 225 and the Canadian Charles Air Jourdain plus 185. I'm interested to hear you break down this fight, Cole. Give me your pick.
Yeah, this is my pick for it. I'm looking forward to this fight so much. Andre Fili is never in a bad fight. He always comes to bring it. Charles Jourdain, he's a guy I was not high on. Similar to Marc-Andre Barriault, I just don't think the TKO guys are normally as good. Like, other than Cyril Gane, I think they fight a lot of lower-level guys. But he impressed me when he knocked out Doo Ho Choi. I did not expect that. His UFC debut was short notice, fought up a weight class against Des Green, lost decision. I just favor Andre Fili here. Wish the odds are a bit lower, but I understand why they are there. Fili has the more UFC experience on the feet. He's a much better striker, probably more powerful. I think he's going to use leg kicks to his advantage against Jourdain. I think Jourdain's a bit skinnier where maybe those leg kicks can hurt Jourdain. I don't know if Fili will be able to knock out Jourdain because he's a tough guy. He's never been finished. Both of his losses are by decision. I think Fili will just be able to piece up Jourdain on the feet. I don't expect this fight to hit the ground at all. I just think Fili's going to win a clear-cut decision.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a great fight. I think Fight of the Night too, like I said. You know what? I'll tell you this. We've picked mostly all the favorites. There's going to be some underdogs that win this card, guys. So I'm going to take a shot in the dog here. I'm going to take Charles Jourdain. I really like Andre Fili. I pick him almost every fight. He is a great fighter, great striking, fun to watch. I was really impressed, though, by Jourdain's last fight against Doo Ho Choi. The Desmond Green fight was a great learning experience for him. This kid's been super active the last couple of years. He's got 3 fights last year, 3 fights the year before. He's fighting super often. He gets better every fight. He's a lot younger than Andre Fili, 5 years younger, 24. I think Andre Fili is great. I think he should be favored to win this fight. But I think at plus 185, I got to take a shot on Charles Jourdain, guys. So that's my pick here. Charles Jourdain. Does he win by knockout or decision? That's my question. I think he can win by either. I think he could actually knock out Andre Fili, and that's possible. I also think he can outstrike him and win decision. I think it's going to be a great fight. I got to take the dog. I think there is value in the dog, personally. We'll see what happens. And then we got Pablo. He likes Jourdain, too. So I know I'm not the only one. Alex Alberto is Fili gatekeeper of 145. He kind of is. I think he's ranked right now. He should probably be like 15. He might not be ranked.
No, I don't think he is.
He's not ranked right now. Yusuf's number 15. So I think Yusuf took his spot. He is a good fighter, though. Jourdain, though, I'll say this. If he wins this fight, man, he gets a step up for sure. It'd be a big win for him. Anyways, yeah. So my pick's going to be Charles Jourdain. Next up, this is another really good fight, actually, Cole. This could be Fight of the Night, too, especially if you like grappling. Merab Dvalishvili against Ray Borg. Really fun fight here, guys. Right now, we got Merab's a big favorite, minus 400, and Ray Borg's plus 325. Who's your pick, Cole?
I like Merab Dvalishvili. I just think he's going to be a lot better than Ray Borg. He's going to use his wrestling. I think that's Ray Borg. I don't like him at bantamweight. He's too small. He can't use. Why he was so good as flyweight was because he was bigger. He could dominate the guys on the ground. He can't do that at flyweight. We saw that again in his last fight against Ricky Simone. He looked good against Rogério Pintero and Gabriel Silva, but I just think Merab is a guy that really should be ranked. He's kind of that coming up in the bantamweight division. I think this is a good fight for him. Get a win over Naaman Ray Borg. I think he's just going to use his wrestling, dominate Borg. He's just going to be a lot stronger. I just think he's going to use the wrestling, get a decision win. Maybe he might be able to finish Borg, but Borg's a tough guy. He's tough to finish.
Pavel says Ray Borg missing weight. Yeah, I mean, it's at 135. I think he'll make it. He has missed at 135 before. I love Merab in this fight. I mean, to me, this is a great matchup for him. The odds are obviously high, but he's going to win this fight, guys. Merab's just better everywhere. You look at his stats. He's landing like over 7 takedowns a fight. Like his wrestling's tremendous, and his striking's getting better too. Cole. Ray Borg's very durable though, and I think this fight's going to go the distance. I think it'll go the full 3. Borg toughs it out here, but I expect Merab to win probably 30-27, Cole. I just don't see how Borg beats him. Merab's better everywhere. I think Borg will have to win by submission to win this fight. I think that'd be the only way he wins, if he just takes the guy's back or, gets his neck somehow. But I just don't see that happening. Merab is super technical and fundamentally sound, and I think he'll win this fight, man. So Merab Dvalishvili, and honestly, this guy he's coming up strong, man. He's an underrated guy, Cole, at 135. All right, co-main event. Co-main event, wow. Carl Robertson against Marvin Vettori. Right now we got Robertson. Vettori, actually, sorry, favored at -220. Robertson +180. Who's your pick, Cole?
I think Felix Jordan should have been the co-main event. But this is such a good fight. They obviously have a lot of heat, especially after Robertson. They supposed to fight a couple times. They were supposed to fight April 25th. Edmen obviously got canceled. Supposed to fight May 13th. Robertson got sick, pulled out, and then he saw the hotel lobby. Vettori screaming some curse words at Robertson. Definitely an interesting fight. I favor Marvin Vettori a lot. I just think on the feet he's a lot better striker. He's fought a lot better competition. He fought a split Israel Adesanya. He's fought Omari Ekmat up to a draw. He's fought Shoeface. He's Cesar Ferreira, Andrew Sanchez. Carl Robertson's last 2 wins are Roman Kopylov and a split of Wellington Turman. Those aren't high-level guys. I think on the feet, Vettori's just going to pick apart Robertson. I think Vettori's a stronger guy where he can stuff the takedowns, keep standing, and just really piece up Robertson. Vettori doesn't have much finishing power, so I don't think he'll be able to finish Robertson. Roberson's a tough guy too, so I think Vettori's going to edge out a decision.
Yeah, I think it'll be a pretty competitive fight, but I do favor Vettori as well. He's looked pretty good in the UFC, 4-2-1 overall. He had a close fight with, obviously, Adesanya. He lost the fight by split, but he actually fought Adesanya better than most guys have. He's been around the UFC for 4 years now, Cole. He's kind of been quietly creeping up the rankings. He's not in the top 15 by any means, but, the guy's not bad. He's top 25 in my opinion. Carl Robertson, he does have a winning record as well in the UFC. He's got 4-2 record. He's looked pretty good overall. He's a well-rounded guy, and he's looked okay in his last 2 fights. But again, the level of competition, like you said, Cole, just not there in my opinion. I think Vettori's fought and beat better guys. I like Vettori too. Robertson, he's been submitted twice. Vettori does have submissions. He could finish the fight like that, or it could just be a decision. But yeah, I think Vettori will win. The line is a little bit high right now, I think, but maybe if it dips down below, you could take a look at him. All right, time for the main event of the evening. Last fight of the card. Not a main event I ever expected. Jessica Eye versus Cynthia Calvillo. Wow. Right now we got Jessica Eye -120, Calvillo +100. Give me your pick, Cole, for the main event.
Definitely sure to see Jessica as a favorite. She hasn't been a favorite since she fought Clincher Faria. I talked to Eye before this fight, and I was bringing that up. She said it's because she's so inconsistent at bantamweight. At flyweight, she feels a lot better. She's 4-1. Her only loss, Valentina Shevchenko, wins over Jessica Rose Clark, Kagan Kagan, and then her last one against Viviane Araújo. They were really trying to skyrocket Araújo, and I really stopped it. I think this fight, it's really going to come down to if Cynthia Calvillo can land takedowns, which I don't think she can. Jessica has really good takedown defense. She doesn't get taken down much. Calvillo's not going to be as big as Jessica. Jessica is a girl that missed weight last time out. She's a former bantamweight. Calvillo's a strawweight moving up. I think Eye's going to be stronger, where she can keep this fight standing and just use her kickboxing style, just kind of piece up Calvillo. I don't see a finish happening here. I think it's going to go 5 rounds. Maybe you see Eye finish in the 4th or 5th if Calvillo gasses, but I think Jessica is going to get another decision win.
Yeah, I mean, neither of these fighters ever gone the full 5, if I'm not mistaken. I was looking at this last night. This, to me, is the hardest fight on the card to call. So it's an interesting fight. It shouldn't be main event, but it's an interesting fight. Calvillo has been pretty impressive, in my opinion. Obviously, at 115, she's moving up. She missed weight a few times. I've been impressed with her overall in her career, though. She has a really well-rounded game, really good takedowns, good submissions. Her striking's not great. Her cardio has definitely been a little bit questionable as well. But overall, I think Cynthia Calvillo is a very skilled fighter. Jessica Eye has looked better at flyweight for sure. 4-1 record. That's nice. Hard to forget what she did at bantamweight, though, where she went 1-5 and 1 no contest. She looked terrible in one of those fights. She has looked better lately for sure, but I don't know, man. This is a really tough fight to call. Honestly, it could go either way, guys. I do not feel strongly about it. Having said that, I thought about it a lot last night. I'm like, who am I going to pick here? I'm going to lean towards Calvillo, and the reason is I just think she's a better fighter. And I know that the weight class difference could come to play here, and I could be, too big for her, possibly. But I just think Calvillo is the more skilled fighter. We got Alex saying Calvillo by submission. I think there's a chance that could happen, too. I think she could take Eyes back or something in the first round, submit her. If the fight goes past 3 rounds, I don't really know who I'm going to favor. I mean, I would assume it has better cardio, but really, we haven't seen her go full 5 rounds before, and she's lost a lot of decisions too. So, Calvillo is kind of a winner in my opinion. She has some good wins in her career, and I think she can beat Jessica here. She fought Joanne Calderwood, who's actually kind of a comparable fighter, and beat her pretty good. So my pick's going to be Cynthia Calvillo. Again, I don't feel super strong about it, but there will be underdogs that win on this card, Cole. And I know you didn't pick any, but there will be a few.
I picked Nam and Rosa.
I apologize, Cole. You did actually. So we both picked 2 each. Sorry, Cole. You're right. We both picked 2 each. I mean, a lot of the fights obviously have close odds, but I think there'll be a few dogs to win. And honestly, it could be any of the ones we picked. Could be other ones too. So you'll see a few win here and there. And I think Calvillo could be one of them too. So go ahead, Cole.
But just this main event, I wouldn't even touch betting at all.
I wouldn't either. No, 100%. Even though when a picker is an underdog and you would think, there's value, I wouldn't. I would rather, if you're going to bet a dog, I think Jourdain has value. Cole obviously said Rosa and who was the other one? Nam?
Tyson Nam, but he's a slight. I think he's plus 100 or minus 105.
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially a pick 'em at this point. That could go either way for sure. But yeah, you definitely picked Rosa, so I guess that'd be your one dog you're looking at. But yeah, I mean, it could. Who knows, guys? These fights were all booked on really short notice, so that makes it even harder to predict. Calvillo is evil, has an evil side. Yeah, maybe. AK has improved Calvillo's game. Kenshiro likes Calvillo. Okay, so that's going to be it for the UFC Fight Night preview, guys. But we were going to take some questions. We'll start with the news. So if you guys have questions, throw them in here, and we'll answer them. I'm going to start with the news, though, Cole. There's a few things we got to talk about here. Jon Jones, he's calling for his release again, and he's just going off on dropping some truth bombs on the financial issues in the sport. And so is Masvidal. A couple other guys. Conor obviously retired as well. So let's talk about it all together. It seems like there's a changing in the sport for the better. Fighters are starting to realize that they've been taken to the cleaners by the UFC for years. Again, yes, the UFC pays their fighters more than most other MMA promotions, but you look at it as a percentage of the revenue, it's like 80-20 split in the UFC's favor. And all other major sports leagues are essentially 50-50. So this has been a long time coming, man. If Jon Jones, is the guy that, does this, Cole, if he's the guy that leads the charge for fighter pay reform, that's incredible. So just overall thoughts on all this that's going on right now.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting just because it seems the UFC, I think it's 18 to 20% of revenue, and they don't get any revenue on any of the beer sales, any of the popcorn sales at the arena, where a lot of the leagues do. They bring that in. That's what Monzel's talking about. He's like, when fans buy a beer, I don't see any of that money. It just goes straight to the UFC's pocket, all that extra revenue, but they don't get any extra revenue for ticket sales. So that's what Masvidal's mad about, is he's being offered less money to fight Oezdemir than he was to fight Diaz, where the UFC is saying just because there's no fans. But he said, I don't get any money anyways for ticket sales, so that's on you to lose money. I think I've always been something to think the fighters need a union. The fighters have never want it, but maybe when they see big stars like Masvidal, Jones, Conor, Cejudo all kind of come out and say, I want to be paid more, maybe other fighters start to hop on board. But the problem is with Masvidal, you're always going to have fighters like Gilbert Burns that will take the fight for less. So then Masvidal loses all his leverage. Yeah.
There's a lot going on in the sport. I just saw Ali tweeted that they're going to Abu Dhabi. So I'm assuming it means Kamaru Usman's going to fight in that card. We actually had it reported last night by Ariel Hawani. We'll talk about that quickly, Cole. UFC 251. That will be July 11th in Abu Dhabi. I'm assuming it's going to be headlined by Usman versus Burns. But we also heard Edwards as a name, and obviously Masvidal. I think it's going to be Usman Burns. Then you'll also have on that card called Peter Yan versus Jose Aldo. And as reported by Ariel last night, Holloway versus Volkanovski too, which was originally intended for that 251 card in Australia. So 3 title fights, Cole, makes a lot of sense. And also it makes a lot of sense they're debuting Fight Island on pay-per-view. I didn't understand when that report came out last week where they were saying that June 27th card, the is it the Volkov card or Poirier and Hooker? They were saying
at the Apex, which I don't really understand how Hooker can get in.
Pardon?
I don't really understand how Hooker can.
That's the thing I'm wondering about too. But they said now it's going to be July 11th. Again, I think it makes more sense. So overall, I mean, it looks like that card's going to be good. There's a few matchups we'll talk about in a second here. But yeah, that card looks awesome, Cole. We got a question. Kevin Scott, with no gate revenue, UFC fighters are actually receiving a higher overall percentage of revenue pre-pandemic. I guess, but again, it's a joke.
They have really even get much of the TV money, where NFL is getting like 50% of the TV revenue.
Well, union calls, so like they take whatever the UFC gives them, which is terrible. You know, any fan who defends the fighter pay is not a fan of the
The
fighter.
Reebok deal, the fighters wouldn't agree to that.
Terrible, man. It's really bad. All right. The only other thing I want to talk about, Conor McGregor obviously retired. I'm not buying it, Cole. What do you think? Not buying it either.
No,
The guy, he just loves attention, man. Like he's such an attention.
Yeah.
Like he's amazing. I love Conor. Great fighter. He's so good for us as writers because you know we write about Conor, we make money off that. But the guy loves attention, Cole. Like he really does. He craves it, man. Like he couldn't even let Amanda Nunes get to talk for like 5 minutes. You know?
Yeah, I wonder if it's like he was saying. Oh, he not excited about the sport. Is it just happened because Amanda Nunes became the first champ to defend both belts?
Yeah.
McGregor kind of set up that champ stuff.
Yeah.
And who tweets at 6 a.m. in Ireland saying he's retired? Could that not have waited till Sunday afternoon when he wakes up or Monday morning? Like, why did it have to be 6 a.m. in Ireland right after the event, right after Nunes wins?
Yeah. Kenshiro says top fighters complain when they want to side with the other poorly paid fighters. When they don't, they get what they want. Once they get their money, they don't care about the other fighters. I mean, probably in the past that is true, but I feel like this could be a changing of the guard right now. So he's got some strong words to Jorge, Jones, and Conor. Dude, if these guys, not Conor, because honestly Conor only cares about himself. That's the truth. But like Jones, you know, Jones has been like one of the most selfish fighters in the game for 10 years, but it seems like he's actually like being the man of the people now. Like if Jon Jones can change his legacy from like the guy who, you know, got caught for PDs and got all these like legal issues to the guy that led to reform for fighter pay. Imagine that, Cole. Imagine Jon Jones.
You know what I done?
Face turn in MMA history.
I saw on Twitter, imagine this. So you have Jon Jones representing a fighter union, and Daniel Cormier replaces Dana White as the UFC president.
It could happen. The sad thing is that it could happen, especially DC replacing Dana. That's something a lot of us have been saying. Pavlo says, of course, I still see them defending guys who make $12K per fight. True. I know what you guys are saying, but if even if the top guys change, if they can just make change overall for a 50-50, right? Or even like 60-40 or something, or like something even closer than 80-20. Masvidal saying it's 18%. It could be. You know, studies have been shown by John Nash at Bloody Elbow. He does a great job of breaking down those numbers. Cole. We know that the fighters don't get a fair shake. They don't get it. They want their piece of the pie, man, and you can't blame them, Cole, because they're getting a really small slice right now. Okay. I do have a question for Marcus. I want to get to in 1 second, Marcus. Just want to get to Alex's question. Could Nunes and Holm and Nunes rematch? He beats Aldana. Some people are saying that. I have no interest in seeing that rematch. I guess it could happen. I feel like Aldana or Ladd, whoever is more impressive, those two probably gets the next title shot. All right, here's a great question from Marcus. Actually, Kenshiro says he won a 5-round partly. Good job. Marcus says, what are your thoughts on MMA journalists like Josh Gross, Chuck Manninghall, others being cut from The Athletic? What do you think contributed to the cuts? Great question, Marcus. I did want to talk about this, actually, so I'm glad someone asked because I wanted to talk about it. So, now, The Athletic is obviously a major sporting news website. They kind of came on strong the last few years. They've only been around for like 4 years. They have investors that have spent millions and millions of dollars to bring in basically all the top writers in most of the major sports, including MMA. They started MMA thing last year, so they brought in Josh Gross and Chuck Manninghall, guys like this, big names in MMA media. I think their journalism was good. The problem is with The Athletic is they're behind a paywall, and a lot of people don't want to pay to read articles, quite frankly. So, when you can get the same kind of news in other places, you'll rather do that. The thing with The Athletic is it wasn't really news. It was more like long forms and like interviews and like investigations, which is great, and we need that in the sport. I just feel like it made sense, like for their business, for The Athletic, when they were cutting people to target MMA first, because quite frankly, Cole, it doesn't bring the same eyeballs as the big sports do. 46 people got laid off from The Athletic, a lot of them in like college football, hockey, and obviously MMA. So MMA got targeted. I'm sad for my colleagues and my peers that they've lost their jobs. Having said that, Cole, the guys at The Athletic were making a lot more money than guys like me and Cole. They were making a ton of money. So I would hope they're okay, for a little while. I'd love to see these people back at these top MMA sites. I'd love to see like Chuck go back to fighting or Junkie or something like that. ESPN makes a lot of sense for Chuck Manninghall. Chuck Manninghall is a great guy. I met him in person at UFC 165. Jones fought Gustafson. Right after that fight, I remember we sat down in the same row in media, the post-fight presser, and he goes, hey, Adam, that was a good fight, eh? I'm like, man, that was good. So we started, talking over there. And we had Chuck on the old Party Shop podcast, me and James. Love that guy. He's a great guy, seriously. So I was really upset when I saw him lose his job. But at the same time, again, Cole, he's been around a long time. Chuck has been, one of the best writers in the game. He'll bounce back. He'll get a job. Again, same goes for Dan Stopp. Dan is, great editor. He was MMA Junkie's editor for years. He's great. Josh Gross is an awesome writer. He's been around for years, Sherdog, etc. Chad Dundas got let go. There might have been someone else. I can't remember right now. But the point is, I've been in this business for 10 years, so I know these people pretty well. They're all great at what they do. But The Athletic is a sports news website, and there are no major sports right now. So they were obviously going to make cuts. It sucks that it hit the MMA space. But as a business, it does make sense when you think about it. You're going to cut the periphery of your payroll. So I'm not defending these people losing their jobs. I'm just thinking, from the Athletics point of view. If you're like an executive at the Athletic, who you're going to cut? The MMA guys are Ken Rosenthal for baseball. You're obviously going to go to the bottom of the totem pole. And I hate to say that because I love MMA and this is what I do for a living. But when you compare it to football, NFL, and MLB, Cole, and NHL, and actually the NHL guys got cut, but the NBA, those sports bring in more views, quite frankly. So, great question, Marcus. I feel bad for these guys. Obviously, they lost their jobs, but I think they were doing pretty well financially, when they did work. So I would hope they have, some savings and stuff. It sucks. It's a global pandemic, though, guys. It was never going to not hit MMA. I feel like a lot of these writers, including us, Cole, quite frankly, we're lucky we still have a job, but at some point it was going to hit. I saw Vox and SB Nation let go a lot of people. Now you're seeing the Athletic let go of people, and you'll probably see some of honestly the top websites as well. So that's my thoughts on it. I hope these guys bounce back. They're all great guys. They're all great writers. But from the business point of view, I can see why they targeted MMA first. So just give me your thoughts, Cole, and everything. Obviously, I talked a lot there, but I want to hear your thoughts too.
Yeah, it's you kind of covered it all. You're not going to see them cut a Ken Rosenthal. It makes sense. They probably looked at readership. MMA readership was probably not as high as baseball or NHL. So they said we don't need 6-7 people there. We can get by with 3 to 4 now. So cuts were going to happen. There's no sports going on. A lot of people probably canceled their subscriptions or didn't renew because what is there to read? There's nothing going on. So
yeah,
it's not surprising to see them have to make cuts.
Yeah, and they've had a lot of investors and stuff put money in. I don't know how much money they're actually making from their subscription model. I just don't know if it's I don't think that model really works, to be honest with you. I don't think people want to pay to read stuff, even though the writing is really good. Don't get me wrong, it's great, but I feel like MMA fans are cheap, in general. It's just the truth. They steal pay-per-views all the time, right? So why not, take. If you could read news somewhere else, why would you pay? And the thing is, again, they weren't doing news; they're doing, feature-length stuff, and it's great. And I hope people do subscribe and read everyone else that's still there. But I can see why people don't want to pay to read, MMA stuff when they get it.
Right. Turn that light off.
Athletic was a joke. After fans pay for MMA news, we can get better for free. We're here with Adam and Cole. Me and Cole do different things. Those guys, like I said, they do really long form pieces and all great guys. All right, so let's get on to some other stuff here. Kevin Scott, every split 50% with fighters be responsible for half the bill. When promotions lose money, MMA promoters get a higher percentage of other sports because the risk is much higher. I mean, is it look at boxing though, bro? Boxing, I think they get a higher revenue percentage. 50, that's a lot. UFC's kind of a new company. Not really, man. It's been around for a long time. 27
years now?
It's not a new company. You could get away with this 20 years ago, Cole. You could say, we're still building our company. Cole, it's $1 billion company now, multi-billion-dollar company that's on ESPN. So no,
paying fighters $10,000. That fighters are on ESPN after winning, saying, "I have to go work my job tomorrow because I can't afford to just fight for the UFC." Imagine an NHL player said they play on a Saturday night and they're like, "Oh, I got to go to work on Sunday. I can't afford to just be a hockey player."
Yeah, exactly. Pavlo says NFL and NBA didn't start 50%. They grew right time. Yeah, you're right, but dude, it's 2020. This is not the 1950s anymore, bro. That's when those, sports were even I think 1920s the NFL started. So the sports have been around for a long time. I know what you're saying, but compare the era. There's a lot more money now. UFC was sold for $4 billion. Kevin Scott, fighting MMA isn't a high-paying career. It's not unless you're a superstar. And the fighters know that, man. But they just want to be paid a reasonable wage. You can't survive if you fight once or twice a year and make $10K to show or something. You can't survive on that. That's below the poverty line. So the fighters are underpaid, guys. Seriously, you can't defend low fighter pay. There's no way you can. I see what your guys' points, and I respect your points, but I don't think you can defend their pay at all. Okay, so let's get to a few other things. Cole, we'll get out of here. Stipe says he's going to return soon for the DC rematch, so probably August. I think they're looking at for that. Saw the rumor a few weeks ago from I think Diz posted that rumor. It looks like it might come true. One thing I saw, Cole, that was interesting was Gray Maynard talked about his fight with Frankie Edgar, the second fight. You've seen that fight, I'm assuming, Cole. That was fight of the year in 2011. Great fight. He says that he was only paid $26,000, Cole, for a title fight. However, he did say he was slipped $100,000 under the table. He calls it hush money. That's called the locker room bonus. They used to give those out. I don't think they do that anymore as much anyways. But it was criminal that he only made $26,000 headline pay-per-view. But I thought it was interesting. He did, mention openly the money. Like, you think the IRS might come after him now?
Nah, I don't know. It's definitely interesting. That's why a lot of those guys did get bonuses, cash money. UFC wouldn't report it. They pay it. None of the fighters would report it. That was more of a Joe Silva thing where they'd get a lot of locker money. I don't know if it's getting any more. Lighters don't talk.
Will destroy Perry at 245. Dude, 100%. I know you tweet to Jeff and his dad all the time, Marcus. I see it. And you're like, when's Jeff fighting it? I want to see Jeff Neal fight. Dude, book him against Robbie Lawler. I just think that fight makes so much sense. I don't understand why Jeff Neal is ranked above Robbie Lawler, but, I think it's still a great fight. That fight, to me, make a lot of sense. Mickey Gall is going to get the fight now. That's an interesting fight. We got to talk about this matchups really quick, Cole. Mickey Gall, Mike Perry, Edmen Shahbazyan, Derek Brunson, Jiri, Prochazka, Volkan, Oezdemir, Holly Holm versus Irene, Aldana, all booked. Any thoughts on those fights, Cole?
Yeah, Volkan was here, Prochazka. That should be a really good fight. Good to see the UFC put Prochazka right against top-down opponent, really see where he is against the UFC. He was risen champ. See how good he is in the UFC. Volkan's a tough out. He's a tough guy. Other than that, Mike Perry, Mickey Gall, it should be a fun fight. I don't really understand it, but I mean, hey, Mike Perry's just going to be like Diego Sanchez, just one cornerman who happens to be his girlfriend in there.
Yeah, it's really strange. Okay, so we got to talk about the financial stuff before we get out of here. I mean, me and Cole went over time, but we got to talk about this because you guys are asking questions. Kenshiro, give MMA another 20 years. As sport becomes bigger and more organizations appear, fighter pay will be at least 4 times higher today, beginning salaries. I mean, maybe, I hope so. But I still feel like MMA is just always going to be a little bit lower than other sports. So that's what Pablo's saying. You can't jump from 18 to 50. Yeah, but dude, 18 is ridiculously low. It's disgustingly low. So, like I said, 40, 60 even. Like, the fighters will take anything. Like, even 25, 30% is better than 18, It's too low. Marcus, good show today. Thanks, Marcus. And last thing here with Pablo, he just had some points here. It pays like 30%, 28 goes to the main card fighters. People act like UFC pays 12, UFC keeps 80% in their pocket. They have to pay for a lot. Dude, so do other sports, though. So I just hope you guys realize how much money the UFC owners and Dana White's making. Like, do you know how much money he's made over the years? He's made so much money. Again, they were sold for $4 billion. They do not pay that out. They don't pay anything more close to half or even a quarter. I know what you're saying, Pablo, for sure. You're right. Like, there's a lot of costs associated, but that's part of having a business.
And every sport has security. Yeah. They need to rent out the arenas. They need camera crews there.
Yep. Exactly. All right, cool. I think that's it, man. I'm pretty tired now. I'm not going to lie. Anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here?
No.
Okay. Plug your stuff, Cole.
Yeah, Twitter, @CoolSean81. Talking to Sean O'Malley. I'll have stuff up this week. Talking to Devin Clark tomorrow. Other than that, not many interviews this week. This card didn't have a lot of people I talked to, so just everything's always on my Twitter.
Awesome job, Cole. You guys can follow me on Twitter @MMAdamMartin podcast. My home, MMAOddsBreaker.com. I'm also available at BJPenn.com and MMAratings.net. Just keep it tuned to my Twitter feed for any articles I post this week. Oddsbreaker, I got the opening odds and main event preview, and then MMA ratings. I'll definitely have an article, but hopefully this card. I don't know. I think that's it, guys. Marcus says overtime. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I like to keep it to an hour, but there was a lot to talk about today. So, yeah, Marcus says we need 2 hours. Nah, I think one's good, bro. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in today. I really appreciate it. I'll be back Friday morning at 10 a.m., and we'll talk then. All right. Thanks, Cole, for joining me, too. Bye.